Welcome to The Explainer. You know, it's pretty wild to think about how a single line on a map, just a line, drawn 200 years ago could completely change the destiny of an entire kingdom. Well, that's exactly what we're looking at today. We're going to explore the incredible what-ifs for Indonesia's Riau archipelago. All right, so let's get right into it. The whole story kicks off with something called the Anglo-Dutch Treaty of 1824. And look, this wasn't just some boring, dusty old document. It was, as one source put it, an act of bureaucratic convenience. Basically, two massive European empires decided to draw a line that would, completely reshape the lives of millions in the Malay world.
And this quote, wow, it just hits you, right? It says they carved up the Malay world like a Sunday roast. I mean, that's brutal. And that's exactly what happened. This treaty just sliced the powerful Johor Riau Sultanate clean in two. And we're not just talking about a political line on a map. No, this was a deep cut, a real rupture that tore apart a region that was completely unified, both culturally and economically, into these two separate zones of influence, one for the British and one for the Dutch. So, the result of all this? Some have called it a cartographic joke. Think about it. A single line, drawn right through the Strait of Malacca, basically set the stage for the modern borders we see today between Singapore, Malaysia, and Indonesia. And it's this exact split, this one historical moment, that's the jumping-off point for our whole thought experiment.
Okay, so this timeline really lays out how it all went down, this great divorce. You start with a powerful maritime kingdom. Then, boom, 1824, the treaty splits it. The Dutch then spend the next century or so tightening their grip, eventually just dissolving the Sultanate altogether in 1911. By the time 1945 rolls around and Indonesia declares independence, Riau's fate is pretty much sealed. It becomes part of this new republic, officially cut off from its cultural brothers and sisters just across the strait.
But what if? What if things had gone differently? This is where it gets really interesting. Based on the analysis, we can literally imagine three totally different parallel universes for Riau. Each one is a totally plausible way things could have gone, but man, are they different from each other. So let's jump in and explore these alternate realities. All right, first up, let's talk about our reality, the world as it is. Analysts have given this timeline a pretty blunt nickname, the resource-cursed control group. See, on paper, Riau is one of Indonesia's richest provinces. It's sitting on a gold mine of oil, gas, timber, you name it. But here's the catch. It's a classic example of what economists call the resource curse. That's when all that natural wealth somehow just doesn't trickle down to make life better for most of the people who live there.
Okay, now for timeline number 2, the federal cousin. In this world, Riau joins up with Malaysia. It gets to reunite with its old other half, Johor. And this path, it probably would have meant more organized development, better roads, better infrastructure. But there's a flip side. Riau would just be one state out of many. Its unique culture, its incredible resource wealth, it could all get kind of watered down in the bigger federal system.
And then there's the third path, the most radical one of all. It's got this great, kind of cheeky nickname, the efficient dystopia. In this universe, Riau becomes part of Singapore. Now, this scenario promises insane amounts of wealth, world-class everything, pure efficiency. But it begs a huge question, right? What would Riau have to give up? What happens to its culture, its ability to govern itself under a government that's famous for being super centralized and, well, technocratic?
So, okay, we've got these three alternate Riaus. How do they actually stack up? This is where we stop just speculating and start looking at the cold, hard data. And let me tell you, when you see the numbers, the differences are absolutely jaw-dropping. It's a story of what could have been told in dollars and cents.
Whoa. Okay, just look at this for a second. The economic gap here is staggering. In our reality, Riau's GDP per person is about $6,800. Now, if it had joined Malaysia, that could have doubled, maybe more. But if it became part of Singapore, the number just goes through the roof. We're talking $90,000? That's not just a little better, it's a completely different stratosphere. It's almost hard to believe.
And this table just drives the point home. This is about so much more than just money. Check out the rule of law scores from the World Bank. It's basically a measure of how stable and reliable a country's institutions are. Indonesia is actually in the negative. Malaysia does okay, it's in the positive. But Singapore, it's way up at the top of the charts. And that massive difference in how things are run, well, it affects everything, from how that resource money gets spent to the quality of your schools and hospitals. So, here it is.
This is the heart of the matter, the big trade-off. The path Riau is actually on, the Indonesian one. Sure, it's not the most efficient, but it offers something the others don't, what you could call messy autonomy. It means the people of Riau have a voice. They get to make their own choices, for better or for worse. The other paths, they offer more money, more order, for sure, but the price is giving up that control, that power to shape their own destiny.
And all of this really boils down to one fundamental question, doesn't it? The question that's at the core of this whole thing. Is being richer always the same thing as being better? Because the numbers on a spreadsheet point one way, but the story of culture, identity, and soul, well, that might point somewhere else entirely.
I mean, listen to how one analysis puts it. It's pretty blunt. The Singaporean path offers prosperity at the cost of your soul. It suggests that for all its economic magic, that model would have turned Riau into a cultural wasteland with the soul of a spreadsheet. It's a powerful image, right? A place where your culture is something you see behind glass in a museum, not something you live and breathe every day.
So you can see, there's no easy answer here. Every single path has a huge sacrifice built into it. The Indonesian path gives you autonomy, but you pay for it with inefficiency. The Malaysian path gives you order, but you might lose what makes you unique. And the Singaporean path, it offers you unimaginable wealth, but the price might just be your identity. It really makes you stop and ask, what does development even mean?
At the end of the day, this whole thought experiment isn't just about some islands in Southeast Asia. It's a question we can all ask ourselves about the real price of progress. The fact that your entire reality could be determined by which side of a line you happen to fall on 200 years ago, that's wild. And it leaves us with a big question. What do we really value most? What is our community willing to trade? And what is it not willing to give up, no matter the price?